In Operation Midnight Hammer, 125 U.S. military aircraft came together to strike Iran's nuclear facilities at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. At around 2 a.m. on June 21, 2025, 7 B-2 Spirit bombers slipped into Iran through the Mediterranean Sea, flying over Israel and Iraq before hitting their nuclear targets. Following these strikes, the eyes of the entire world were fixed on how Iran would respond. With over 24 U.S. bases scattered across the Middle East, fears were already mounting that Iran might retaliate by hitting any one of them. And then, 2 days later, Iran did just that, launching attacks on the U.S. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar and the Ain al-Asad Air Base in Iraq. But this wasn't the first time American bases had been struck. In fact, Iran had hit U.S. assets several times before, and once even crippled an entire U.S. warship. So let's revisit 4 incidents where Iran openly inflicted heavy damage on America. Welcome back once again to Amir TV's videos. Viewers, on January 3, 2020, the U.S. carried out a drone strike at Baghdad airport that killed Qasem Soleimani. He was far more than just an Iranian general. He was Supreme Leader Khamenei's most trusted aide and the most powerful figure on the Middle East chessboard. His death shocked the Iranian nation, and Iran quickly decided that revenge was inevitable. While many assumed Iran would only make noise, this time the decision was different. The response would come directly with missiles. Iran publicly warned the U.S., declaring that since America had killed their commander, it would now pay the price. Ain al-Asad Air Base, situated in western Iraq, was one of America's most vital installations. And just 6 days after Soleimani's killing, in the early hours of January 8, 2020, at exactly 1:20 a.m., dozens of Fateh and Qayyam ballistic missiles streaked across the skies and came crashing down on the American airbase. The strike was so precise that the missiles destroyed fuel depots, aircraft shelters, and command centers with pinpoint accuracy. What was most shocking was that not a single missile went astray. The U.S., having received prior intelligence, had moved its soldiers into bunkers. Yet the base itself suffered massive destruction, hangars, runways, and barracks, all reduced to rubble. Initially, Washington claimed there were no casualties. But later, it was revealed that over 100 American soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries. Their nervous systems were jolted, some went blind temporarily, and many fell unconscious. The world was stunned not only by the scale of the strike, but by Iran's boldness. It openly claimed responsibility and declared the attack was only a warning. If America escalated further, something far bigger would follow. At first, the U.S. tried to brush off the missile damage. Then President Donald Trump, in his first term, tried to downplay it with the words, "All is well." But satellite images, soldiers' videos, and before and after visuals told a different story. Iran even pointed out that had it wanted, it could have directly targeted American soldiers' barracks. But the intention wasn't to take lives, it was to send a clear message. After this, the world looked on in disbelief as Iran openly fired missiles at a U.S. base, while America did nothing but watch silently. Even a year earlier, in 2019, Iran had delivered a sharp response to the U.S. On a calm night in June, an RQ-4 Global Hawk, an American surveillance drone worth billions, wandered into Iranian airspace. Within just 20 seconds, Iran reduced this technological marvel to flames. Here's how. By 2019, tensions between Washington and Tehran were already soaring. Donald Trump was still president and had imposed crippling sanctions, forbidding other nations from buying Iranian oil. As a result, Iran's oil exports dropped to almost zero. Iran, however, didn't stay quiet. In the Persian Gulf, oil tankers started coming under covert attacks carried out by Iranian proxies. To keep tabs on Iran's military activities, America turned to high-tech surveillance drones. One of these, the U.S. Navy's RQ-4 Global Hawk, entered Iran's coastal boundaries. Its mission was to track every movement from the sky and beam live intelligence back to command. The drone flew at an altitude of 60,000 feet, far beyond the range of most air defense systems. But Iran employed its seven-corded missile system, locked onto the drone, and fired. The U.S. never imagined Iran's defense could reach that high. Yet the missile struck dead center, and the skies over the Persian Gulf lit up with fire. According to Iran, the drone had violated its maritime borders by 15 kilometers. The U.S., however, insisted it was still in international airspace. At first, Trump threatened Iran with airstrikes, but in the end, no strikes came. Let's go back further, to 1987. During the Iran-Iraq War, tensions ran high in the Persian Gulf as Iran began targeting Kuwaiti oil tankers, raising global fears of an oil crisis. That was when America launched Operation Earnest Will, under which U.S. Navy warships escorted Kuwaiti oil tankers to ensure their safe passage to the Arabian Sea. The year-long mission turned out to be the largest U.S. naval convoy operation since World War II. But even this didn't ease tensions. Soon, Washington allowed Kuwaiti oil tankers to be reflagged, meaning Kuwaiti flags were replaced with American ones. It was announced that any attack on a U.S.-flagged vessel would be treated as an attack on America itself. Iran tolerated this for a while, but by October 16, 1987, it decided to strike back. The MVCC Isle City was one such Kuwaiti tanker reflagged under the U.S. Iran launched a Chinese-made Silkworm missile, which slammed directly into the ship's bridge. This 3,000 kg subsonic missile had a range of 120 kilometers. At that moment, no U.S. Navy ship was nearby, since Iran had never before attacked a reflagged vessel. This became the very first Iranian strike on an American-flagged ship. 18 crew members were injured, and the U.S. citizen captain lost his eyesight due to facial injuries. This was a direct challenge to American power. In retaliation, 3 days later, the U.S. Navy destroyed 2 Iranian oil platforms in the Gulf. Though inactive, these platforms were being used by Iran's Revolutionary Guard for military purposes. Now let's see how Iran managed to cripple a U.S. Navy warship. During Operation Earnest Will, Tehran devised a strategy in the Persian Gulf that targeted tankers, but also took down a U.S. warship. Iranian naval forces laid a network of underwater mines. These weren't floating mines, which could be avoided easily. Instead, they were anchored by chains to stay about 5 meters beneath the surface-perfect depth, since large ships' hulls extend roughly 10 meters down. That meant the mines would only detonate under heavy vessels. On April 14, 1988, the U.S. Navy frigate USS Samuel B. Roberts, newly arrived to join the mission, struck one of these Iranian contact mines in the Gulf. The blast tore open a 21-inch hole in its hull. The engine room flooded, and 2 turbines were destroyed. A $500 mine crippled a $90 million warship. When the area was swept afterward, the U.S. Navy discovered an entire Iranian minefield. 4 days later, America retaliated, launching a major strike. U.S. ships, aircraft, and troops destroyed 2 Iranian oil platforms and the warship Iris Sahand. In the operation, a U.S. Marine helicopter was lost, killing 2 pilots. History has shown that since the fall of the pro-American regime in Iran, despite sanctions and relentless pressure, Iran has never shied away from striking back at even a superpower like the United States. So what's your opinion on this? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like and share this Amir TV video. See you all in the next great video.